Alright everybody, welcome back to another video. If you follow me on Instagram, you would know this video is a little bit overdue. And today we're just going to be breaking down my 2020 archery setup for my hunting season this year. So without further ado, let's just get right into it. So to start off, this year I am running the Hoyt Carbon Spider 34. This bow, I believe, came out in 2014, and I just recently upgraded to this from my Hoyt Charger that I was running last year. It is a number 2 cam set at 29 inches of draw length, and it's a great shooter. Really loving this bow so far. So let's jump right into some of the accessories that I'm running this year. We'll start at the top, I guess, with the sight. This year I am running a Spot Hog Fast Eddy XL MRT. It is the double pin version. I've got the pins at the 19,000th, I believe. Or actually, they're the 10,000th pins. So green on top, yellow on bottom, 10,000 size pins. And I've got the tape set. It goes from 20 yards to 110 yards. The dovetail is almost maxed out. It's got a little bit of play still, but I have it farther away from the riser because I think that it gives me a better sight picture and it allows me to be more accurate that way. But it's a 2-pin slider sight, so you loosen that knob and I can crank it all the way down to 110 yards. It can actually go way past that, but then you start running into contact issues with your arrow because it's going into your arrow's path. But really liking this sight so far. It's expensive, but I think it was well worth it because the sight's bulletproof. It's very accurate. You have second and third axis adjustability, so you can get this sight dialed in really accurately. And I've just been really liking it so far. Next off, we'll go to the rest. So this year I'm running a QAD Ultra Rest HDX. Just the standard model, not the Hoyt model or anything like that. And it's been doing really well. It is a cable-driven drop-away rest. I did run the limb-driven trophy taker last year, and I just kind of like going back to the cable just because it's a little bit more closer. It's closer to the bow, and there's less cord on the rest to get tangled up on trees, sticks, things like that when you're walking through the woods. Just a little more compact for me. So that's why I went back with the cable-driven drop-away rest for this year's setup. Moving right down to the stabilizers. This year I am running the Apex Gear Endgame front and back bar stabilizer set. It comes in a kit, and it's a very competitively priced stabilizer set, and this is the first year that I'm actually running this offset back bar. So that was definitely a change for me to get used to, but I'm really liking it now. I think it helps me hold really steady, especially if I decide to leave the quiver on, which I don't usually do, but if that case arose, having this offset weight back here helps me really hold rock solid, especially on those longer shots. I've got full stacks of weight on the front and the back. I'm not sure exactly how much it is. It's just whatever they came with. They've got the fully customizable color rings, which I kind of like because I was able to go with the red and blue to match the rest of my setup for this year. Yeah, it's an 8-inch front bar and a 6-inch offset back bar, and I think there's probably, I don't know, 3 or 4 ounces on each side, but it holds well for me, so I haven't even had to adjust that or play with it. The only thing I've had to play with is the angle that it's coming off the side. I have mine in a little bit tighter just because I like the compactness and because I think that's where it balances out best with this bow specifically. And then I guess we can go right along to the quiver. Quiver is nothing special here. It's just the Hoyt standard 6-arrow quiver, quick detach. I usually run a 4-arrow quiver, but this 6-arrow quiver, it fits nice. And one of the things that I love about the 34-inch model on the Hoyts is that in years past, my arrows, the bottoms of my arrows would stick out past the bottom limb of my bow, and then they would hit the ground, they would get stuck on things when I sat the bow down. But because this is a 34-inch axle to axle, and because this Hoyt quiver has the adjustable carbon tubes to where you can adjust the quiver position, when my arrows are on the bow here, on this quiver, you can see the bottom limb is below the arrow shafts, so they're not going to get hung up on anything, which I really like. It's a small thing, but it's something that is kind of like a pet peeve of mine and an annoyance that I had with my previous Hoyt bows that were shorter axle to axle. So I'm really liking the 34 inch for that especially, and just because it's a great shooter. So the 6 arrow quiver, and then so staying on the bow here, pretty standard D loop, knock sets. I believe this is a 1/4 inch peep, just a standard peep, nothing special, no apertures, no lenses, anything like that. And this year I'm actually running a Bowmar Archery nose button. I watched a lot of videos and saw a lot of great reviews on this nose button and how it helped people control their micro anchoring and just become more accurate shooting. And I have to say, I am absolutely loving this so far. It's a great reference point to know if you're adding too much facial pressure during the shot and if you're not anchored in correctly. So I'm really liking this. I recommend them very highly. It's not fully tied in yet because I'm still playing with the perfect height on my nose to where I want it. But I'm loving this Bowmar Archery nose button. I think it's making me really accurate. And then I guess the last thing on the bow itself would be the strings. I am running the Pure Perfection bow strings from a local shop here in Southern Ohio called Broken Rack Archery. They set me up with these strings. Great group of guys up there. Really happy with these strings. They're performing great. They look great. And the guys up there really took care of me, really helped me out with that. So shout out to them at Broken Rack Archery. Yeah, and that's about it for the bow itself. So let's go on into the arrows. So this year I decided to give the Easton Match 6.5 match grades a try. It's a new arrow from Easton this year, and I really wanted to get a match grade arrow, which if you're not familiar with Easton's match grade, the match grade basically just means that every arrow is built to within 0.001 in terms of straightness and weight tolerances to each other, I believe. Don't quote me on that, but they're just very tight tolerance arrows. And usually the match grades are a little more expensive, but this year they brought out the 6.5 versions with a match grade option, and they're a little bit cheaper than say like an FMJ or an Axis. So I went ahead and gave those a try, and I'm very happy I did because I'm really loving this arrow. It shoots great. I've never been a huge fan of the micro diameter arrows. This one's a standard diameter. For the most part, it's the 6.5 millimeter, and it's flying like a dart. On the back, I've got a 3 Fletch AAE Max Stealth. Pretty standard. First year using those, but I'm really liking them. They're steering great. Right helical on that. I've also got a blue Nocturnal Universal Fit lighted knock on the back of these for my hunting arrows. And up front, I've got a Dead Ringer 100 grain Super Freak broadhead. Really like Dead Ringer. It's a great company. They make indestructible broadheads. I've had great luck with them over the years, and I've just stuck with them. I've bought a bunch. I've killed a lot of deer with these broadheads, a few of the deer on the wall back here. And also the cool thing about these 6.5 match grades is the inserts that they come with. I don't know if you can see that orange insert up there. It's actually slightly heavier than a standard aluminum insert. I believe it's like 28 grains or something. It's heavier than an aluminum insert. It's not quite the same weight as a brass insert would be, but they come standard with the arrows, so you don't have to worry about going and sizing and finding a brass insert, and you get a little bit of that extra weight up front to increase your FOC and increase your overall downrange performance of your arrows. So that's the arrow that I'm running, and like I said, Dead Ringer Super Freak. It's an adjustable broadhead. It can go from 1 3/4 to 2 1/4, and I have the set screw placed at 2 1/4 for this year. So should be a great setup. Really liking how these arrows are performing out of this bow. And last but not least for my setup would be the release. So right here I have 2 releases that I'm kind of testing out and going through. This is my Carter Simple one with a UltraView funky knob, I believe is what it's called on it. This has been my go-to release over the last, say, 3 seasons. Really like this release. It's super adjustable, super consistent, and it just feels great in my hand. It's a 3-finger thumb release. Really like that. But I also picked up recently this Stan SX3, and I gotta say I really like this release too. It feels great in my hand. It's super comfortable. It's got a super clean break. The only thing specifically with this release that I'm not overly fond of is the way that it clips onto the string. There's no auto locking with this thumb button. As you can see, that didn't close the jaws. By pushing this thumb button, it doesn't actually close the jaws, it just locks the jaws when they are closed. So you kind of have to, it's kind of hard to see here, but you have to put it on the D loop and then close it with your finger and then hit the thumb button to lock it in place. And that's not a big deal when you're practicing or if you're just target shooting, but in the heat of the moment, when you don't want to take your eyes off of that big buck or whatever your target animal is, having to actually put your finger and make sure that you're clipping it on is something that I'm just not crazy fond of for hunting purposes. So I don't know that I'm going to be hunting with this year, but I do like shooting it. It is a great release, but I think I'm going to stick with my Carter simple one, just because of the pure fact that I can, without even looking, I can go to my D loop, push the button, and it's on there. No messing with the jaws, no nothing like that. I can hang it on there, it's ready to go. And yes, I can hang it on there and have it ready to go with this release. Like as soon as I get up in the tree, I could just put it on there like this, and then it's ready to go as well. But just for the simple fact, like if I was walking, if I was getting down, if for some reason I had to take the release off, just having this ability to auto lock it right back on just with that simple click of a button and it's done. That's why I'm going to stick with this Carter. It shoots great, and it's just a much more convenient release for me in terms of a hunting situation. Alright, so that's basically the overview of the bow and what I have on it in terms of accessories right now. We're going to go to the other room and we're going to show you the arrow weight and how they spin, and then we're going to shoot it through a chrono and then maybe do 1 or 2 groups, and that'll be the end of this video. Alright guys, we're in the other room here. Got the arrow on the scale, it's all set up, zeroed out. And so what we got with these 6.5 match grades is a total arrow weight of 443 grains, give or take a little bit. And like I said, that's with the 100 grain dead ringer head and this extra weighted insert that comes with these 6.5 match grades. I believe it's somewhere around 30 grains. Don't hold me to that, I'm not entirely sure, but I don't think it's all the way up at 50. Like I said, they're the 6.5 match grades, and it's a 3-fletch AAE Max Stealth with a blue nocturnal lighted nock and 443 grains. These arrows are carrying a lot of kinetic energy. They're shooting really well. Another thing I like to do with my arrows is calculate the front of center, FOC. If you're familiar with that, if you're not, it's basically a number that tells you how much of the weight of your arrow is, as the name says, front of the center point of the arrow. It's a pretty easy formula to figure that out. You can go online and find a lot of places that have FOC calculators, but these arrows specifically are running with about 10.6% FOC, which is a little on the low end, but like I said, there's a lot of weight up front and these arrows are going pretty fast, so they're anything over 10% for me is good. I like having 10 to 15% FOC on my hunting arrows, and these ones are coming in right at about 10.6% FOC. So that's a great number for me. That's that's a good number of where I like it. It's going to get a lot of penetration on these big whitetails. It's going to do great. Should be a great performer. And then another thing I like to do is spin test all of my arrows, especially with the broadheads on them, because a lot of times broadheads can make your arrow not spin the way it would with a field tip. So you're always going to want to check that. Make sure that you're getting good spinning arrows with the broadheads on them. And I don't know if you can see this, but these arrows spin really well. There's little to no movement. If there is, it's because this arrow spinner is not perfectly flush for whatever reason. When I got it, the stands are not the same. But yeah, these arrows spin like a dream. They shoot like darts. And I'm overall just really happy with this setup. So now we're going to go out and shoot it into the chronograph and see what kind of speeds we're getting out of these bad boys. Alright guys, I don't have a stand for my chronograph yet, so we're just kind of making do with what we got here. I'm hoping this area is not too shadowy to where we can get a nice accurate reading on here. I've actually not shot this bow through the chrono yet, so I'm hoping that we can get a good number here. If I had to guess, we'll throw out a number. I'd be happy if it was over 275. So we'll see what we can do here. Like I said, Hoyt Carbon Spider 34, 29-inch draw, 70 pounds. 290. I don't know if you guys can see that, but we got 290 on the chrono, which is great. I mean, anything over 275, like I said, with a 440 grain arrow, basically, that's going to be a killer setup for whitetails. Obviously, if you're hunting elk or something like that, I'd want a little bit heavier arrow, but 290 with a 440 grain arrow, it's going to be blowing through some whitetails. I'm going to shoot a few more times, make sure we're getting an accurate number. But yeah, I'm incredibly happy with 290, no doubt. That's the thing that a lot of people don't understand when you're buying a new bow. Like this bow, when it came out, the IBO speed that it was marketed with was probably something like 330, 340, somewhere in there. But IBO is measured with pretty much the lightest arrow possible at a full 31 or 30 inches of draw, 70 pounds maxed out with a really light arrow. So that arrow is going to be going really fast. But this is a much more realistic hunting setup for me. You want a little bit heavier arrow when you're hunting, at least I do. I want that downrange energy. I want to blow through both sides. So 290 is still really fast for an arrow of this weight. So we're going to shoot it again, make sure that 290 is a good number and that it's accurate. And if we hit about 290 again, we'll call it a day. All right, let's see if we can get 290 again. Or faster. Faster would be nice too. All right, let's see. Said duplicate. So yeah, hit 290 again. So we're getting a consistent 290 feet per second out of my Hoyt Carbon Spider 34, 29-inch draw, 70 pounds, number 2 cam. 2020 season is rolling up on us very fast, and I can't wait. I'm excited. This thing's a shooter. Thanks for watching, guys. If you want to see how this bow shoots at 50 yards, go check out my Instagram page. It's t.s_outdoors. Give me a follow there. That's where you can see this bow shooting at 50 yards, throwing some absolute darts. As always, if you're not subscribed to the YouTube channel, please subscribe. And yeah, thanks for watching. We'll see you on the next video.